This is episode number 17 of the Riff Tacos podcast. My name is Paul Misko. If you are enjoying the show so far, please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, like the episode, and leave a rating on Spotify or Apple. I also have an email list now, so you can sign up to get free weekly updates about what's going on with the podcast. Just head over to the Instagram, and it's in the link tree, just at Riff Tacos on Instagram, and please give me a follow while you're there. Tonight, I'll be hanging out with musician and producer Allee Futterer. She has a solo experimental pop project called All Made Up, and she also plays bass for Chappell Roan. All this is happening because she posted a reel showing off some of her old CDs, one of which was from a second story window. So excited to get to know her and hear about her background in metal and how that journey brought her to where she is today. So let's get going. This is Riff Tacos with Allee Futterer. Allee, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
It's great to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have to give a quick shout out to Sean for connecting us through Instagram. He saw your video showing off your old CDs, and there was a from a second story window one in there. And then I think that morning he messaged the band chat. He was like, "Hey, the bass player for Chappell Roan just posted like our CD." And like half of us are like, "Who's Chappell Roan?" Because we're like old dudes. So did he just message you that day, or what happened there?
Okay, honestly, that reel had like way more legs than I was ever anticipating. Like a bunch of, I don't know, like everybody's like grown up hardcore kids. So like,
yeah,
like a bunch of my friends were like forwarding it to bands that broke up like 15 years ago.
It's an awesome collection you have there.
Yeah, I used to have more, but like over time, that's all I have left. So yeah, I don't actually exactly remember how the Sean thing came about. I think it was like a few months after, though.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, someone might have sent it to him probably, and then...
Yeah, because I didn't like tag... I don't think I tagged any of the bands.
Yeah.
So it had to be completely organic.
Yeah, he was like, I messaged her. He's like, "Do you want me to see if she wants to come on the podcast?" And I'm like, "It's like brand new." And I was like, she probably won't want to. And then I found out you had a background in metal, and I was like, "Oh, well, hell yeah, that's cool."
Yeah, let's do it. I think we have a bunch of the same friends too.
Yeah, you mentioned, was it Justin and Through the Eyes of the Dead?
Yeah, totally.
How do you know them?
Just like shows back in the day.
Hell yeah.
I think I don't remember exactly how. I know like I had a band that did like California Metal Fest, and like I don't know if you know Andy from Chain, but like basically like anything Andy and Ash put on, like my band played at, and I ended up meeting just a bunch of people like at 15 years old, and people were kind and adopted me and treated me well. So. That's
awesome. Yeah, I think From a Second Story Window played California Metal Fest before I was in the band. That was way back. Probably on their first U.S. tour, I think.
Yeah, I do remember I had a shirt that I think I did get there. So,
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So here we are.
So you grew up in Southern California?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up in like Fullerton, Anaheim area.
Okay. And I was reading your bio on your site and said you grew up with like the skater kids and the surfer bros. So like,
yeah.
Is that kind of how you got your first exposure to like punk and metal and all that?
Yeah. Exactly. Just going to shows, being a troubled child with a bad home life, and I found myself at Chain a lot. And house shows. There was like a big like house show scene in Orange County. So lots of that, lots of straight edge kids, lots of getting into trouble, being straight edge, lots of not being straight edge, just like the whole spectrum.
Yeah, I get it for sure. Yeah. It sounds very similar to like our group of friends back here. We had straight edge friends and not straight edge friends, and everyone was in different bands or swapping members, and we're all going to shows and like the local stuff. So like, was that like the first kind of music you got into, or were you into anything before that through your parents or family or siblings or?
Yeah, my parents are both musicians. Most people in my family like are professional musicians. My grandma was a concert pianist, so I definitely grew up with that all around me. And I played viola. So I was in like classical like youth orchestras and stuff like that. And I just like didn't really get along with anybody at school. Is the truth. And I started making friends like outside of my school, and like everybody was in the scene. So I started going to shows through
Mm.
them. I think like I don't know. I forget what the name of the festival was, but um, is it not Silence of the Underground? Was that a festival?
So yeah,
Uh,
that was yeah.
I think that was like my first big show. It was at like somewhere in downtown LA. And my friend had like, the hair, this hair.
Yeah.
And I thought she was like the coolest person on earth. And I think we were like 12 or 13, and that was my first like big show. And
Right.
then I heard that people were doing that like close to home, and that my friends were in those kinds of bands, and I just started showing up.
Yeah. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
this is way cooler than classical stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, these people are great and I like them.
Yeah. So I like back then, I had like the purple bangs and like wore the baggy clothes. I was the Slipknot kid and all that. I remember like thinking you're such an outcast and you're so like against everyone else. But it felt like once I found those people, they were so nice. They're like the nicest looking people, even though like some of them were scary with all the face piercings and stuff. And I was like 12, 13, 14 getting into it.
Totally. I think that's like the best kept secret though. Like look scary, be nice,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, there's some of the sweetest, nicest people I ever met, and like, especially in the pits at like shows and stuff, people fall down, you pick them up. Obviously there are some assholes who like to hit people, but in general, it felt like a community, and it was very cool to be like, I finally have a place to hang out where I feel like I'm a part of. I belong
Yeah,
here.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I was just explaining that to my partner. I took him to Sound and Fury last year, and he'd like never been to a hardcore show, let alone like Sound and Fury. Uh, and he was like, "Oh my God, there's so many pits like all at once." Like we were in the side stage area. Not, I wasn't like really giving him the full experience, but he was like, "Wait, people get picked up? Like, what do you mean? Like they don't get hurt?" I was like, "No, like nobody gets hurt."
Yeah, they're
Like, when
not
you get picked
actually
up,
fighting.
yeah, they're not actually fighting. They're just having a bad day, which
Yeah.
is great.
It's a hard thing to explain to someone who doesn't understand it.
Yeah,
Like,
but I think it's the best kept secret.
yeah. For sure. And this, like, that kind of music, it's all about the live experience and being there and that energy. Cause it's very hard to capture that on a recording. So until you go and you're a part of that, especially when you're young, if you're older and you've never been through it, like my mom never saw anything like that. When she came to my first show, she was terrified. It was in a skate park, and she saw the pit, and she was like, oh my God, they're all getting hurt and killing each other. She's like, I'm never coming to this again. I was like, oh
Wait, your
no.
first show was at a skate park?
It wasn't my first show, but it was like one of our first, like our early ones. I think it was the first one I was in this band. It was a band called Robinson. It was like grindcore.
Whoa, at a skate park, like total DIY vibe?
Yeah, there was like kids skating like next to us on like this half pipe and shit, and they had just like a section off like it was a lot of people went there. It was called Section 8. But that used to be like the cool spot to play, other than like this other one was like Freddie Fresh's.
That's so sick. I was just talking the other day about how I wanted to do a show in a skate park.
If you're a touring musician, you know how important it is to have reliable merchandise that represents your brand and keeps fans coming back for more. That's where Gorilla Joe Printing comes in. They specialize in high-quality printing and custom merchandise made to make your fans feel like they are part of the experience. From t-shirts to patches and any unique memorabilia in between. Gorilla Joe Printing also helps forecast your inventory, whether you're on or off the road, so you never run out of stock or end up with too much. They even help bands manage their e-commerce stores, keeping your merch business running smoothly 24/7 so you can focus on what you do best, performing. For more info, check out GorillaJoePrinting.com. Yeah.
But
It's like way cooler to me now that you're making me realize than I thought it was then. It's just like normal. It's like, oh, we're going to Section 8. There's a band playing. There's kids skating at the same time. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So sick. We got to bring that back.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to it, or like if it might still be there. I moved away for 15 years and I just came back last year when the band got back together. So I'm kind of like
Cool.
new to the area again, even though I grew up here. But
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Where did you run off to?
I went to LA for 8 years and met my girlfriend that I've been with now forever. And then we moved to Texas for the last 7 years. And so she's still down there. We're visiting back and forth, but I came up because my dad was also getting old and he was alone. So I was like, I'll go do the band thing. We'll visit. And like, we're cool. We have no kids. We can do that.
Yeah.
But he ended up passing away. So that's another
Oh,
story.
wow.
But yeah, so that was a surprise. Wild year it's been. But yeah, so
Jeez.
it's cool to be back home. I'm like 5 minutes from band practice and where I grew up, and it's neat because I did the city thing for 15 years. So
Totally. Were
nice.
you in Austin or
Yeah, I was in LA, then Austin,
cool?
and
Nice.
yeah. So are you in LA now?
Yeah, I live in LA.
And you've been there pretty much your whole life?
I moved away also, and then I ended up back here. Which like like Orange County people don't believe that LA is part
Yeah.
the same place, but it is, and yes, I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
LA was fun. I met a lot of cool people there. I made a lot of friends, did a lot of cool stuff. I'm glad to be gone, but like I'm happy I did it. I was in Hollywood, like
oh
living
yeah,
there in my 20s and just, no idea what the hell's going on.
that sounds like a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun and nightmare in a good way, like when you're that young and you're everyone's dream if you live in like the Midwest is to go to California. And then I actually did it. So I was like, yay, like made it out here. So I didn't care what happened. I didn't care if I was homeless on the beach or whatever. I was like, I have to make it to California because that's what
For
Ohio
sure.
people dream of for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, congrats. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you had a nice time.
Yeah. Thank you. It was fun. Definitely a good life experience. And I don't think I would have had the balls to move if I didn't like do the touring and like go see the world and all that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I got to get out of here. There's so much more other than my small town. Now I enjoy it here because it's chill and I'm old and it's quiet. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel that. I like it here more and more as I'm getting older. Um, which I know is like if you're not from here, like you probably don't have that experience, but just like every time I come home, like all the things I took for granted as a kid, like snow-capped mountains and palm trees, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
It just like really I like it more and more and I'm like, okay, cool. You don't like the traffic? Like, see ya. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. The traffic is probably the worst part, but like California is definitely like our most beautiful state. It's crazy. And yeah, you have the snow, you can surf, you can snowboard, the
Okay.
ocean. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
great.
Go to the desert. It's a great like yeah, the traffic sucks, but also like I'm lucky that I don't really have to deal with it. So
Yeah,
there's
I looked out too. Like I never really had to sit in it, like to go to like work. When I did work, I lived in Hollywood and I had to go to the Valley, so I was kind of opposite the bad traffic.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I worked from home the rest of the time, so it's like okay.
Yeah. That's basically where I'm at. And like the
Mm,
part of town I'm in, we don't really have a lot of traffic. So it's just like if I have to go to Hollywood, I'm like, oh God. All right.
yeah, for
Sure.
sure. um, so like you're mainly a bass player now, right? Is that like your go to?
Yeah, I play bass and I produce.
Okay, yeah, I saw that you went to Berkeley for upright and electric, right?
Yeah. Wow. Did the deep dive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do my best.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you had a crazy mentor, Carol,
Yeah. Yeah.
who I wasn't super familiar with, but I looked her up too, and so she's been on everything.
Yeah.
The Pet
Yeah, she was a
Sounds, Frank
legend.
Sinatra, like. So how did she become your mentor?
Um, in high school, like, my parents' friends like would end up being my bass teachers. And I don't know, like, you know, love the boys, but a lot of the like older jazz musician, like I just was not vibing with them, especially like, you know, like playing punk shows and stuff and then
Yeah,
going to take like a stuffy jazz lesson. I wasn't like growing at all.
Mhm.
And I had heard about Carol and that like she was like kind of the only like woman um like well I don't know how to say it. She was like she's basically the only female that has like made that much of a name for herself
Right.
in town at the time. So I just like emailed her and asked her if she was teaching, which I knew she was. And I think in like I don't want to speak for her, but like I think that she does like tend to want to work with women, especially like younger ones. So she like vetted me and like asked some, questions. And then I just started like going and hanging out at her house like every weekend, basically,
Awesome.
which was like a 2.5 hour drive from where I grew up. So yeah, once I was 16, once I got my driver's license, I started just like going and hanging out with her, basically, is how I would describe her lessons.
Wow.
Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, she was like very affordable. I'm guessing just because she wanted to do it. So yeah, it was really cool though. She definitely taught me a lot and I studied with her for years, like even through college.
Mhm. And so,
Uh,
did you meet her before you went to Berkeley then?
yeah, yeah, when I was like in high school.
Okay. And what made you choose bass? Because not a lot of people go for bass. And so,
Well, my
like,
dad's a guitar player and my brother was a drummer. And I just, I didn't want them to tell me what to do.
there you go. Most of my friends, I should say, who played bass, it was like they wanted to play guitar first, and then like they're like, oh, this band already has two guitars, so I'll switch to bass. So I love when people choose bass and you're like a real bass player, you know?
Yeah, I guess it did kind of like choose me in some ways. I'm not sure that, if I had like been a more present kid, I probably would have picked guitar or drums or something. But it definitely chose me. And then I had people I knew and like looked up to, and they definitely like kind of ushered me and like gave me advice and you know
Mhm.
mentorship within the community. And yeah, then I just ended up doing it forever.
What were some of like the metal bands that you were in?
Oh my gosh, they were all like local bands, like nothing
Okay,
that ever got signed or anything.
gotcha. Did you do any touring that early, or
Yeah, just like E350 vibes, like across the Southwest. We did like work at Tim Lambesis' house once, which is like
oh
really funny.
wow,
Like,
yeah,
it doesn't age well.
yeah,
Uh, but I like it as an Easter egg because of how poorly it's aged.
right. Well, from everyone, I never met him, I don't think, but from everything I hear, he's always like everyone's surprised because he was like supposedly the nicest guy, and then
Right.
yeah,
So very.
everyone's like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So you're in this metal scene doing some touring. Like how far did you go before you're like I kind of want to switch genres or try something else or
Um, I would say like the two worlds like coexisted forever, pretty
okay.
much. Um, I like had like a rough home world. And so like my community, my like things that I liked doing, like was all my friends were definitely like based in the scene, but I always also had like other interests and like I studied Carol and like that was like a very like hot take from like going to like prog shows or whatever. Um so they definitely like always coexisted. But my band was like starting to do like pretty well. Like we were like, doing like the Southwest touring thing and hanging out at Tim's house, cutting records and stuff. And I just got like a really good scholarship to Berkeley, and my parents just like were like, yeah, you gotta go. So they
Yeah.
kind of just made that decision for me. And I went to college, and then I definitely like was like, okay, I gotta like take this seriously if I'm going to this school. I don't know. I just got trapped in the music academia thing,
Right.
and
So did
time
you
went.
enjoy that?
Yeah, no, I did. It was great. Yeah, I guess like part of the Berkeley thing was there's like a lot of like metal kids there.
Mm.
and I felt like they were all posers. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that at Berkeley.
That makes sense. Yeah, I took like maybe 5 or 6 lessons when I first started guitar, and then I was just like, I'm done. I've had enough. I'll get tabs and figure it out. And I never liked attacking it from that angle. I was just like, I'll figure out the sounds. You know, this makes this shape, makes this sound, whatever.
Totally.
I don't even think that guy even taught me how to tune the guitar, which is like day
No.
one stuff, you know. So, but I don't know. I think now, like you were saying, you know, you like a jazz lesson would feel stuffy when you're young and you're like going to punk shows and metal shows. I think now that I'm older, I might appreciate going back and learning all this stuff that I skipped on because I'm like more mature and I've already developed like my own personal style over the years and how I like to play and my sound. And so I might appreciate that now. I've kind of thought about like, let me get a book and just like figure out what this chord's actually called or.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to both approaches. Like when you work with people that are like have only done the academic route, like sometimes it's just like not nearly as creative.
They're stuck in their rules and
totally. And then sometimes it can be really frustrating when like to communicate with people when you're not on the same page about like what to call things or like what are we playing or like trying to like remember a song form or like that kind of stuff. You know, like both sides has pros and cons.
Yeah. If I was with real musicians, I would be very frustrating to them, I'm sure.
Real musicians. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Music, like I'm starting to feel like like when I was in high school or whatever, and like a music teacher would be like, oh, you know, it's this like this ancient tradition that we passed down. Like I always thought that was so annoying, but I am starting to kind of like feel that, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's mostly like a folk tradition that we make music and like, you know, different genres like burn out and new ones come in and here we are just trying to express ourselves.
For sure. Yeah, I like, and I'm just kidding. Like, I think everyone's got their own way to do things, and it's cool. And I kind of wish I would have picked up more things along the way because Rob and I in our band, we always felt like we were the worst guitarists on tour. No matter which bands we were with, we're like, man, we suck. We got to practice. And we'd ask like one of the other guys, will you teach us one of your exercises, like when you're warming up? But we're good at what we do, and that's all that kind of mattered to me. Is like if I can play what I like to play and what I'm trying to write, then that makes me happy. And I'll also try to write things in my head or write things I can't play yet. And that always made me better. That's how I started, really. Like, I was like, get this idea. My drummer was way faster than me. So we would just be like, all right, now just play it till you can.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like your ears are always ahead of your hands.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to be.
Yeah, for sure. Because then you're still learning. You're still excited about it.
Yeah, I think you hopefully always are. Like, because if you're not excited to play or write and you don't get that like that feeling, then it's like you're probably not working on something that is very meaningful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So you have a lot of styles going on, like kind of like you have almost a country Americana vibe, the pop vibe, and like the garage thing, but it all blends together very well. I was listening to a lot of your stuff today. So like,
oh, thank you.
Yeah. Where did you kind of come up with the idea for All Made Up and like, how did that all come together? Cause like someone from Southern California, you don't expect the country vibe very often. Like,
yeah, totally. Although, you know, there's actually like a hilariously big country scene here. Just putting that out there.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the Grand Old Echo, which is like a kind of newer, I think since you left, country night at the Echo. There's Y'all Star Review, Stud Country. There's a lot. There's a lot of like country nights now.
Country's like blowing up again though, too, like in the mainstream, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think the LA stuff is definitely more like old school than like I don't want to offend anybody, but like tractor country.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like then like super poppy country.
Yeah. I didn't grow up listening to any country. So like all I heard was like the radio stuff. I never liked that. And then like my girlfriend's from Texas. She grew up in Houston, and like so she showed me like all the old school stuff. And like I'm still learning who people are. I'm like such a noob, but
Totally.
like yeah. But then I also like I love Post Malone doing country. Like
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
anything he does, I'm just like I'm a super fan. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. I think people should just make whatever they want to make, whatever speaks to them.
Yeah. That's the only way to do it. I always say like you should be writing music that doesn't exist yet that you'd like to listen to. And that's why you want to create it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the doesn't exist yet thing is interesting because I think a lot of people like they want to make music that they're inspired by. Like, oh, I, love this band. I want to have a project like that or whatever. But like inherently, like their own version of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Not like a genre that doesn't exist, but just like a specific, like, combination of whatever your inspirations are. You're like, no one's doing it quite exactly like I'd like to hear. So let me do that. I think that's
Totally.
like the best reason you should ever, or to write music.
Yeah. And like try not to censor yourself. Like,
Yeah.
this song should sound more like this, or if it was more like this, it would stream better or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, that's exactly how I made that record, basically. From playing with so many people and having like the more academic background, I am very critical of myself, and I wanted to do the project because I wasn't really having fun doing music. And I thought about like the reasons like why I decided to do it, professionally or whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I had to like have a hard conversation with myself. Like, I think you're supposed to be making music, not just like working for other people's music.
Right.
So in doing that, I had like kind of in the hard conversation, I made a list of things that were like really comforting to me, sounds that I grew up with. And then because I'm a producer, I treated myself like a client of myself, basically. Like, how can I make this sound that, happen for you?
Right.
And with every like song I wrote, I would like just have like a guitar vocal thing, and then like build out a form around it, and said like whatever happens, but these are like some of the instruments that I want to include. And like the pedal steel, which I think when you're saying like the country stuff, like I knew I wanted pedal steel to be like very involved in just in my music in general. My old band, not a metal band, but a band I used to be in, we started doing these like So Far Sounds, like stripped shows. And we had our friend do pedal steel on a lot of them. It was like a clean tone rock band. And for the stripped like So Far performances, we were like, oh, let's do something different. Like, I'll play upright, we'll have acoustic guitar, pedal steel. And one of my friends, there's a lot of pedal steel guys in LA, but one of them is just like a tone wizard. And I didn't realize that pedal steel could be like that diverse and like have so many it can show up in a million different personalities depending on, effects and the wizard operating it. But I grew up also, like, my stepdad is Hawaiian, so I listened to a lot of like pedal steel music growing up, and like slack key and all that. So it was definitely like something I find very comforting. So that's kind of how the pedal steel arrived, which definitely makes everything sound Americana or country or twangy. But it's important to me.
Yeah, no, it's a like a beautiful like chill vibe you got across everything, and like
Thank you.
I can't say I've ever heard anything quite like it. So I think it's this was your first full record, right?
Yeah.
It's called "Tell Me What It's Like Up There," and I saw you also had said it was a memoir for your grandmother.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, she was kind of like my mom, and she was a concert pianist and had kids really young and never got to fully like live her dream. she had kids in the 50s and she was like 21. So she had to like give up being a pianist. Basically, she started teaching piano lessons, and that's like what she did with her life. But yeah, when she passed away, I thought I was writing a record about her, and then I like realized I had to deal with a bunch of sexual assault stuff from my childhood, and I realized that like in her passing, it was also like me, like part of me dying in some sort of way, but like not like I was saying goodbye to a chapter that I hadn't ever really processed.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it started out definitely as me thinking I was writing a memoir, and ended up somewhere else.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. I can't say I've ever written anything that had that deep of a meaning to me. I do love like concept albums, and when like things are very cohesive. I forget who I had on here. We were talking about that, but like I love like I hate writing just a single and having to put out a single, and we've done that the last year or so just out of necessity because everyone's got kids and families and all that. But I love putting together a piece of music with at least an EP, 5 solid songs that are kind of like a theme, and because it kind of represents like whether it's a bigger theme like that or like just kind of what you're going through in that part of your life, like that sound you're feeling in the moment, just
Totally.
It'll like, just like you listen to a record from high school, it takes you right back to there, your old car or whatever. So I love, putting together a piece like that.
Yeah. My friend Phil Jolie always says that like a record is a record of time.
Yes.
Which is, he's a heavy cat. So I think like, maybe not every record is gonna be some grand introspective opera, but that one was. So hopefully they're not all like that, honestly.
No, that's cool though. And yeah, I agree. It's like a snapshot at a time of your life that like when you put it on, you can like, I can remember being in the room recording that. I can remember like what I was thinking when I wrote that riff, whatever. Like it's very much like a, sense of smell, which is very strong with memories, or that's what it feels like to me anyway.
Yeah, totally. And if you had like recorded that guitar part like a different day, it might have turned out completely different.
Yeah, all the little, mess ups and nuances and this and that, it all makes it, unique.
Totally. Yeah.
And you're a producer, so you record for other people too then?
Yeah.
You said so you have clients. And how did you get into that?
Same kind of thing, just like playing in bands and not feeling like I could communicate, or like not feeling like I was getting the results that I wanted. Specific band, just like before the pandemic. But yeah, we were just like recording with different people, and it was kind of chaotic, and there wasn't really direction. And then at the same time I was like, touring with different artists, and also just like the hard conversation of like, how do I really like want to spend my time here on this little space rock we got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I started just like taking stems from sessions that we were like recording stuff at and tweaking them around in like Logic or whatever. And then gradually like doing writing sessions with friends and kind of like doing the like lateral networking thing, just like working with songwriters around town, and just gradually more and more. And now it's like a big part of my life, which is awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's always been like a dream job for me, but I was like, we would always go to the studio, and, we'd stay there for a month. The guy had an apartment above that we could, stay in. And that was like the dream then too, is though, of like, just wake up every day and don't have to do anything besides go down and play my instrument or watch someone else, record their part. But now, like with what's possible with like home studio stuff, and like you said, like no matter how good the person is you're working with, you could never kind of like, I can't get my hands on it and make it exactly, what I'm hearing, even though they're talented at what they do. And I've always felt the same way. So we're doing that now too, is like, I'm playing producer and
cool.
Yeah. So it's been a journey, but like, I'm proud of it. So the first thing I did was like our last release, Lowest, which was like a short, quick grind song. And Sean's down in Columbus recording and sending me stuff. And, you know, then I'm working here with the rest of the guys. We do all the guitars right here where I'm sitting. So it's like, it's really cool. But you can, and I'm sure you can appreciate as a producer, like the sitting there and overworking something because it's so accessible now, like can also like kill it. And like just sitting there recording to a part to perfection, you lose that, you know, like you kind of just had to sit down and record it and be done and move on when you're under a time crunch, there's something good to that too. You got to find that balance.
Yeah. I used to work with a friend a lot. And like we would do like a lot of like sync projects, like for like film and TV. And he had like the craziest workflow where I would be like, oh, well, like, let's massage that and make it perfect. He's like, no, it's good. Like, it's good. It's done.
Yeah.
We're printing this. It's done. And that was super helpful for me just in not overthinking that. But like, also, I don't really like music that's like perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I don't enjoy that. Some people love it. But I like things a little bit more rough around the edges. So if I ever feel like I'm spending too much time on something, I usually just like get up and walk away.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah, or it's just time to abandon that piece.
Or just like, if I listen to this in a week, like it probably is fine.
True. Yeah, it's weird how your ears change just overnight. Yeah, I've done the same thing. Like I'll be stuck on something, be like, this just fucking sucks, and then I'll give it a week and come back. I'm like, I don't even need to do anything. It's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes like what we think we want to hear in the moment is just like our brain leading us astray.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you enjoy recording people who are trained, or more so the other direction, or kind of like?
I would say like usually artists are less on the side of trained. And I think I like working with all different types of people, just like people that are stoked to be making something. And I'm like kind of intense. Like I think as a producer, like I do really long guitar tracking days. Apologies to any guitar player that I have to work with. There'll be like 50, 60 guitar tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just mostly if people are stoked to be there and they want to be weird and creative, like I'm happy to be there with them.
And do you work in like a specific types of genres that people come to you for, or are you just open to anything?
I've mostly been working with a lot of women, and I think things are like typically in the rock arena.
Okay.
Like indie, rock, folky vibes.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, that's perfect for you based on your music that I've heard. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I just did a record actually with an artist from Ohio. And it's very like Alabama Shakes vibe.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
A lot of great musicians come from Ohio. Everyone seems to say that to me on the podcast too.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, sorry, go ahead.
I spent a week in Cincinnati just like ripping around town and doing a week-long session with her there. And I was like completely blown away by the vibe overall. Just like the amount of music in town and bands and how good everybody was.
I haven't been to Cincinnati in years.
It's cool. What part of Ohio are you in?
Part you've probably never heard of, but the closest like city is Warren. And it's about 25, 30 minutes from Youngstown.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah. So if there's like state border of Ohio and PA is here, and Pittsburgh is here, and Cleveland is here, we're right in the middle, kind of on the state border.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Middle of nowhere.
Honestly, I've been like most places in this country. And so at this point, I am usually surprised if I haven't heard of somewhere.
Like, some people have heard of Youngstown, but Warren definitely not. What did you say? Parking lots?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in parking lots in Kansas. Like I've been.
Oh yeah, that's all you do on tour. Yeah.
Totally.
we had a little taste of the road last summer. We played in Boston and New York, and like we were right back at it, like we were in our 20s, like just in a parking lot. Like our singer had his shirt off and he was like hardcore dancing. Someone's peeing in a bottle because we had no bathroom nearby. You know, like it's the same thing it was back then.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's fun though. Like it's nice to get a taste of it and not have to do it all the time. 'Cause I don't know how much touring you did in like vans, like how awful that can be.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easier when you're younger, but
I mean, yeah, you have to like really want to be in that van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now none of us want to. So playing the fun things, the things that's worth it, the things that are like meaningful, like we're always down to do now. But yeah, it's tough to live that life no matter what. And like with gas prices these days, everything's like way more expensive than it used to be. So it's just tough.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I just had some friends stay at my house last week from New York, and they're this band called Strawberry Launch.
That's
very,
cool.
Very cute vibes. But they were so excited to be on tour. And I was just like, yes, like keeping the dream alive. But also like when the van pulled into my driveway, I was like,
yeah. Yeah. Those long, brutal drives. And like, I know some bands travel in Sprinter vans now. And I'm like, I don't know if that's any better than the 15 passenger. 'Cause it's like, you can stand up, but who cares about being able to stand up? Like, you need the benches so everyone can kind of lay down and stretch out.
Sprinters are more comfortable.
Yeah. We had one once, but I felt like the Sprinter van was like a mini Greyhound. Like, I don't know. The one we had was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, they're not super comfortable in the back. You're like bouncing around and that's kind of awful. But I do think they're more comfortable than the 15 passenger.
Yeah. And that was like freaking 2007 I'm talking about. So my memory is like from that tour especially was our first time in Europe, drank a lot, don't remember a ton. So, but great times because I don't think any of us had ever been overseas. So that first time going and it's for your band was probably the coolest experience.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, I made it energy for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And we and we were happy just to like, we get food and like some warm beer. Like that's fine with us, you know, paid our own tickets and everything to get over it. Yeah.
Were the venues that you were playing at, like, I'm always surprised on tour in Europe that like, there's like communal meals at venues. Like, did you have that experience?
Yeah, we had, even for this small tour, I feel like we got decent food catering every day. Like that was set up. Like they actually treat the bands like humans instead of like, here's a shitty pizza and some beer, like go away. Right. Or like your one case of water to split between all three bands.
Yeah. Yeah. We played a show in Lyon, France. It was this artist Wiseblood that I toured with for a long time. And it was like our first, I don't know, it was like the first tour or show of the tour, I think. And there was like all these like tables backstage, and we were just like, all the crew like sat down and ate with us. And we were like kind of like, you know, caught off guard by that because that would just never happen in the US.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of cool, like all the stagehands and like, you know, techs from the venue and everything were like, oh, okay, like in our green room, okay.
Yeah.
But like it makes so much sense, you know, like everybody should like have a meal together.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, maybe it's like a difference in culture too. Like people over here are more like leave us alone and put us in our room, and like sometimes some things about going over there. I remember it just felt like the people were more forward and open, and that was like kind of different than what we were used to. But then you appreciate it by the time you leave. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely some of that.
We did have a time we were served horse and we didn't know it. And one of those people, I forget who it was, like our bus driver or someone else, he's eating and he realized it and he goes, "This is horse." And he just gets up and leaves and like throws it in the trash. We're like, we're eating horse today. It wasn't good though. He was right. Yeah, it was like stew or like, it felt like almost like beef and noodles or something. I can't remember, but
I
he was,
forget that they still do that in France.
yeah, he was pissed, and we were surprised because the last thing we expected, you know, you never even think of a horse being food when you're from the U.S.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a delicacy, isn't it?
I guess I didn't know that.
I think filet mignon is supposed to be horse.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Huh. Well, it was tough and shitty.
That shit sucks.
Yeah. So whoever the chef was that day, like,
You
no,
fucked
you
that
ruined
horse
my
up.
horse. You ruined my horse experience, my first time.
Oh my God. This feels like kind of relevant, so I'm just gonna turn this camera. I just got this guy.
Oh my God. Where did you get that from?
An antique mall in Carson City, Nevada.
Is it from an actual ride?
It's I have no idea where this thing is from. It's like made of light bulbs.
How did you get that home? It looks huge.
It comes apart in three sections. So yeah, was able to get it in my car. It's cool. I named it Michael Horse. It's gonna stay. I bought it for a show, and I can't get rid of it now.
No, that's fantastic. Is that like your studio you're in, or is that your place?
Yeah, it's my studio.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. A giant horse. That's the last thing I expected to see when you turn the camera.
I felt relevant. So.
Oh, it was. It's awesome. That's a great clip too. I have to show you this real quick.
1 second.
So when you were saying you did a lot of touring, but you weren't making music, was that mostly like just kind of getting hired, like a hired gun for other bands, and you were just kind of touring as a job?
Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
I mean, I still do that.
Oh, I mean, how long were you doing that, not making your own music before you were like?
I took a little bit of a hiatus from touring after college, just from doing the E350 thing. And like when you're just out of college and you're trying to like, you know, be a professional musician in LA, like your touring options are basically like an E350, like 15 passenger van. And I was like, I don't know if I have that in me. So I didn't tour for a while, like after school. And then in 2018, I started being like, maybe I should do that. Get some road experience like at the higher, like more pop level. So my first like tour, I played with a bunch of like indie people that were like, you know, rising artists like Donna Missile and this guy named Morgan. And then I took a tour with Conan Gray. And I think around that time I started playing with Mayor Hawthorne too. But I still play with Mayor Hawthorne. It's been like 7 or 8 years now.
Nice. So when you want to go like I want to be open to touring with like a larger pop act, like how do you go about putting your name in the hat for that?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I made that sound really easy. Well, I did a lot of like sessions and stuff in town, and there's, you know, a lot of music nights. Like I think there's less now, but before the pandemic, there were definitely like regular. There's this thing called the Hootenanny, which is like all the like most like respected, you know, touring musicians put on this music night at Hotel Cafe. And there was a lot of things like that. And then just from like playing gigs around town, like the casuals is what we call them here. Great. I got the balloons. I didn't do that. I have no idea why that happened. But just like from playing casuals and like jazz gigs and things like that, just like you gradually meet people, and as you know, everybody is just like on the same path together and like gradually getting better and better work. So like I think the Conan Gray tour, my friend Adam Kriskow referred me to, and he's like Tegan and Sarah's drummer and played with everybody like Sufjan Stevens and just like anybody. Adam Kriskow has played with them.
Wow. Okay.
He referred me to that. And my friend Wynn Bennett from Twin Shadow, she referred me to Mayor Hawthorne. So just like, you know, friends basically, just like
Hmm.
making sure you have a good reputation and you're always like working on things and just saying yes to everything basically.
Right.
Lots of $50 gigs.
Yeah. Gotcha. So
Yeah.
will they like have you come try out if they don't know you, or or just jam a little bit first, or?
Yeah, there used to be like more like contractors that would hold like big auditions, and sometimes there's still auditions for things, but for the most part, I do think people like know who they want to work with. In the same way that you're like, oh, like this producer would be perfect for my band or whatever. Like you're like,
Mhm.
well, this person, the vibe, their personality, this is somebody I could live with for a year in a bus or whatever.
Right.
I could see them 360 days a year and I would only like hate them 5% of the time or whatever.
Yeah, that's almost at that level. And that's more important than like, are you slightly better at your instrument than that person? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, exactly. Like that person rips, but they're a dick. No
yeah,
thanks.
yeah. We'll take the
Yeah.
guy who's slightly sloppier. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Because the hang is solid.
Yeah, I had like that world is completely foreign to me because I've always just been in the band and started the band or whatever, and then if we got to go on
Totally.
tour, cool. So like as far as being like a hired gun or like I have no idea, was never in that world, but that's really cool to learn.
Yeah. I guess like I had this big grand idea that I would have a career like Carol's, just like having spent so much time with her. And I realized that like the world that she told me about like doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah,
So that was like a kind of harsh reality to um like there's not like 50 union contracted sessions a week in LA anymore like there were in the 60s and 70s. So
yeah,
I had always thought I would be like studio person. And in some ways I am studio person now. But
yeah. I was gonna
it's
say, yeah, you're
a
a
winding
producer and
road to
like,
get
yeah.
there. Yeah.
So like, what would be if you could just do anything? What would your choice be? Would it be touring with your own project or being a session musician? Like, what would be your most want or the thing you want to do most?
Honestly, I am definitely doing all the things I want to do, which I feel very lucky to say. I love touring. I love working with people in general. And I think one of my friends just told me this philosophy, but like crop rotation, like where if you just do one thing all the time, you get completely burnt out on that.
True.
And if I was making music for myself all the time, I think I would like probably have some sort of psychotic like breakdown.
Yeah,
Like being that
absolutely.
introspective and working like, doing your own project, like it's so much.
Yeah,
And
you
I
need
love just
breaks.
like, yeah, and I love like learning other people's music and that's taken me like to every corner of the world. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I love working on random like records with random people from random places
Yeah.
and putting on like DIY shows. Like I like doing all of it. So I feel like I just kind of want to keep doing that.
Yeah. Well, spending time with other people and traveling and playing music you didn't write and learning, different things, that's going to, when you're ready to revisit your own stuff, you're going to come back with so much fresh inspiration and
Yeah.
experience to bring to the table. So I didn't think of
Yeah.
it like that. Hey, buddy, my cat's yelling.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, that's true. Like my dream was always like, I wish I could just have some job that just made me money and I could just like not care if my music made me money, so I could just have the free time all day to just play guitar. But then like, yeah, I would get bored and get sick of it, or you hit writer's block. You need to take a few months off. So what would I
Yeah.
do then? Just be bored all day? Like doing like, you should be doing different things like that. Cause like
Yeah. Totally.
if I get super into a song and I'm like so passionate about it and I finally finish it after a month or weeks or whatever, I just feel mentally like after like drained completely. So to
Totally.
try to do that all the time, yeah, that would be not good, I
Yeah.
guess.
And like now you have to, do an audio album plus like a whole visual component, like
Yeah.
pretty in-depth work, which I've learned actually to love. I have no problem making TikToks. I'll make TikToks all day.
Yeah.
But but it's a lot of work and it is draining and it's also just like a lot of looking at yourself. like
Yep.
literally looking at yourself,
Mhm.
or like editing your own vocal. You're just like hearing your voice over and over again.
Yeah.
And I like hearing other people's opinions and perspective too.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to do everything yourself, but then yeah, you do get like me doing this even. I get sick of seeing my face and hearing myself, and then I got to do that with my own music too. Luckily, I'm not a
Yeah.
singer, but
Yeah.
yeah. This is
It's a
Leon.
lot.
He's crying. Say
Hi,
hi, bud.
Leon. What a cutie. So sweet.
Giant baby. Um,
So sweet.
he is. Chill out, bud. Not much longer. So then you've been with Chappell Roan now. Are you still playing with her, or
Yeah, for the last year.
so what's that been like? Because when I've heard her name, I think from my friend Heidi. Shout out to her. I want to have her on. She's an awesome drummer out in LA too.
Cool.
But I think she told me about Chappell Roan maybe in like December or something when she was home for Christmas visiting. So I remembered the name, but I didn't realize how massive of a star she is. So
Yeah.
like, is that one of the biggest people you've played with?
Yeah, her rise has been so cool to watch and be a part of. Yeah, when I first joined, it was like about the same level as other things I've done.
Mhm.
And now it's definitely become massive.
Was that just
Uh,
like super quick the last few years?
it was like less than 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty. There's like some articles. I can't really fully describe it, but it was like, Kane. Have you played at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa?
That sounds familiar.
You should ask your girlfriend about it. It's a really cool, like, legendary country venue. It's
Hmm.
got like the bouncy floor for Western like swing dancing.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
but it's like maybe I think it's like 2,500 cap or maybe 2,000 or there's like a lot of different genres of shows there. But it's one of my favorite venues in America for sure. Every time I play there, I'm stoked. So I got the routing. Canes was on it. I was so excited. And then like within I don't know a few weeks, it was like everything was upgraded, and then things just kept getting upgraded, and they got bigger and bigger. And then
Holy
a
shit.
month a month after we played Canes, we played to 100,000 people at Lollapalooza.
Oh my God.
So it was pretty crazy.
Would you say that was like the most people you've been in front of ever?
I think that's the most people. I think it was one of the biggest shows in history.
Was it? Holy shit. Yeah,
Yeah, which is
100,000.
like really crazy to say, but I think
Cause
it.
like,
I think
cause
it
like,
is.
what was Woodstock? Like the biggest Woodstock? How many people were? I don't even know.
I don't know. There was a few like articles about the crowd size at that Lala show. Is it just like went on forever and ever and ever? It was like, and it was like pink hats.
It's like a
like
sea. Yeah.
yeah. It was pretty crazy. And like I don't know, when you look out into like a big crowd like that, it's hard to like I get way more nervous playing to a room of 5 people that I respect a lot.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Crowd, you know?
Like, I don't
Like,
think we ever played to more than maybe 2,000, 3,000 people at the very max. And like, that was like Furnace Fest, the last
yeah.
October was like our probably our biggest show ever. But I always thought that I was like, if you're in front of a crowd of that size, it's just gonna like not even feel like people anymore, and you'll be less
It does.
nervous than the up close and personal like 20 people right here.
Yeah. And especially like I have no context going into these shows. Like you're playing a festival and like, you're playing a big pop show and you're like, yeah, obviously there's going to be a lot of people. And like I've done like, not, I hate to sound like this, but I've basically played like every major festival in the world with people at this point.
Yeah, that's
And-
amazing. Be
and,
proud
like,
of that.
I am, but I don't want to sound like a prick, but like just walking out to Lala was actually one time where I did like start to shake a little bit. I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
What does she have like a huge production for her show? Like, is there a lot of rehearsal involved other than just playing?
Yeah, there's a lot of rehearsal involved for sure. But that show is just a 3-piece band, so it's like a big rock show basically. It's kind of like I don't know. Somebody called it like 90s Green Day, and I stand that.
Yeah.
It's definitely like got some hairnados. We're on the floor a few times. We're smashing guitars.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an hour and a half of cardio.
Yeah. So you're smashing guitar too?
I didn't actually smash them, but I always pretend to smash one. Yeah.
I've never smashed one. I've never had enough guitars to do that, or one that I wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to, but
I don't think I could do it. Do you
it
know,
kind of hurts my soul every time I see it.
Do you know Death by Audio pedal company?
I think so. It sounds familiar.
The owner has a band called A Place to Bury Strangers.
Okay.
Their workshop in Queens is so sick, but he's got smashed guitars everywhere, and it's so dope. And I wish I could do that, but I just don't have it in me.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
like
I don't
wood
know.
chips everywhere.
Because every guitar I've had, like, they have memories attached to them from like when I got it and what I recorded with it, or when I toured with it, or I don't know if I could. It would have to be one I bought on purpose to like, I'm gonna smash this fucker. Like,
Hell yeah, yeah. Buy like a Temu guitar and smash it.
yeah, like, Heavy Lolo.
Mm-hmm.
Their singer Robbie was just on, and he was saying they bought guitars when they went to Japan, so they didn't have to bring gear with them. They just went there and bought cheap guitars. I'm like, that would have been. I would have smashed it the last night of the tour.
What
that
did they buy? Because like instruments in Japan are so expensive.
I don't know. I think they were cheap. He just said we bought whatever we could, so we didn't have to take guitars on the plane. I was like, that's very you guys too, just not giving a shit.
Craigslist Tokyo, like, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. We never got to go to Japan. I always wanted to.
You're gonna go. You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go regardless, even if it's just a vacation. But
for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I played in Japan, I was really confused that it was so hot, and then I realized, like, oh right, it's an island in the Pacific Ocean. Right.
You kind of don't think about that. Yeah. I never thought about it being hot though. Is it? But it does snow in the winter too, right? Like,
yeah, but so fucking hot. Like, I've never been that hot before in my life.
Damn, I didn't know that.
I've played in Alabama in the summertime, and Japan was more hot. It could
Shit.
be like close to the sun too, because it's so far north.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I always thought that, like, I just pictured the weather being like perfect there for some reason.
Me too.
Yeah, because it looks like all like mountainous and like kind of woodsy, and like it just looks very nice.
Yeah, I did Fuji Rock, and we were like, oh yeah, the mountains in Japan in the summer, like it's gonna be like Aspen. It's gonna be perfect. And like all of a sudden, like the umbrellas make sense. Like why people carry umbrellas. You're like, oh my God, I have a sunburn. I've been outside for 3 minutes. Like, this is crazy.
Is it really humid too?
Yeah, so humid.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, one of my synths like just completely like killed itself. Just
wow.
Yeah, it was like, I'm done here. Send me home.
Where's been like your favorite place if you had to choose one, since you've been like everywhere?
Santiago, Chile, pretty great. Yeah,
never
Chile
been there.
Was incredible. Just South America in general is so cool.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever been anywhere down there.
You should go.
Well, we did Europe and UK twice. Never got to do Australia, but Australia and Japan have always been on my list for sure.
Yeah, Australia is cool. It's just like the flight, it's so big, and the flights between cities are really long. I've never gotten to do it in a comfortable way. It's always been like, okay, we're waking up at 4 a.m., kind of like a Sprinter van tour in the US, but you're flying in Australia. And so you're like flying from Melbourne to Sydney the same day, and you get in, you have sound check and a show, and then you wake up the next day and you fly to like Perth or whatever.
I didn't even realize the flying between cities when you're there, because I'm like, I know the flight there is terribly long, but I figured you would drive once you're there. But
no, it's too big. It's like the same size as North America.
Right.
Yeah.
and you do like 7 cities. That's
Yeah, because it's like an American agent or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you'll be fine. You can get there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
what was I going to ask you? Oh, but when we were talking about smashing guitars, do you have like a signature bass or a company that you're endorsed by?
Yeah. I work with Fender and I work with Guild.
Sick.
Yeah. So I've got some Starfires. This is one of my custom guilds.
Nice.
Semi hollow body, short scale. And yeah, it's I don't know if you mess with hollow bodies, but it's fun.
I have one. Yeah.
Nice, cool. What kind?
It's an ESP. I haven't pulled it out of the case in God knows how many years. X-Tone.
Cool. I've never heard of an ESPX gun. That's cool.
I think they have a new version of them now, but I got it and then they changed them. But it's hollow body, gold hardware, wood grain. It's beautiful.
Wow.
And yeah, it never really fit any band I've been in, so it kind of just stays in there until I feel like learning how to play some blues stuff or whatever
Nice.
I pull it out for. So I need to get it out again and
Cool.
clean it up though. It's really cool. But yeah, we were all with ESP for years, so I have like 7 of those, all super metal stuff. And then this time we did I have 2 of these guys you can't really see, but the black one is a baritone.
Cool.
Because we've always tuned to drop A, and
Yeah.
we never used the long scale baritone necks, and they just stay in tune way better. The intonation doesn't get all screwed up, but like
Totally.
we just didn't care when we were younger, and now we're doing everything the right way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I've been seeing a lot more like baritones out in the world.
Yeah, I mean everybody's tuning so low now. Like before, I felt like it was like a more rare thing to come by.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got a bass 6 actually. I don't know if you've ever messed with those.
No.
It's a guitar, but it's long scale like a baritone. It still has a sticker on it, but it's an octave lower, so it's in the same octave as an electric bass.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's long scale like a baritone. So yeah, it's lower, or actually, if you're an A, then it's not lower, but it's lower than a baritone.
What's the standard tuning on it then?
It's EADG B.
Oh, so it's an octave down. It's an E an octave
It's
down.
it's the same as an electric bass, but it's just on a guitar body.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the long scale neck.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's what they used on Pet Sounds actually.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of like 60s records, bass was recorded on the bass 6. Led Zeppelin used it. I can't think of which songs, but it's just like a weird instrument, and like every 10 years Fender makes one. And so I was like, well, it's my time. It's my time to get one.
That's neat. I like that color.
Yeah, I think it's Fiesta Red.
Are you in like for your music, are you in standard tuning usually, or do you?
Yeah. Yeah, one day I'll do the big A standard record, but
Oh, now you're a rebel these days, like tuning to standard.
yeah, I guess. I mean, I think most people, like at least on the pop world, most people are still in standard. Occasionally you get like
No,
a
in
drop
pop, yeah.
beat, but yeah, what's the metal tuning right now? It's just A standard?
A lot of people are in drop. A standard is popular now because of Knocked Loose.
Yeah,
or
of course.
or they may have changed it. They were in A standard because of like Korn, and like that's where everyone started with the low tunings. But everyone's like low. Like A is like not as low. Everyone's in G or F, or some people are a full E octave or full octave down to E now, and it's like you're almost
bless
playing
them.
bass. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like Acacia Strain was in like G.
Yes. Yeah, they were. We toured with them a bunch of times, and they were always just the heaviest fucking band ever.
So
Still
heavy.
are. Yeah.
So heavy.
I'm trying to
That's
get
awesome. Are they still putting
their
out
drummer.
records?
Yeah, they put out one. Was it last year or the year before? They did a double record, which was one was like a big, long, like kind of sludgy, stonery, heavy record, and the other one was like their typical kind of like breakdowns and faster stuff. And their drummer Kevin, he just left the band last year, I think. But I'm trying to get him on soon, so he'll be one of the next guests. But super
Nice.
sweetheart of a guy. I haven't seen him in over 10 years, so yeah.
Nice. Shout out Kevin.
Yeah. Who else do you know from back then?
I did a show with them. I don't remember anybody's names that I actually met in that band.
Vincent was the singer.
Oh yeah,
DL was the guitar player.
right. Yeah, I went to like a basement show in like their hometown in Massachusetts in
Oh, no shit.
April. Because I had family there, so like when I was in college, like I just like my roommate and I drove up there. But yeah, I guess like I mean I'm still friends with like BT Bam guys like Dan, um, Javi from Animals as Leaders.
Oh, yeah.
The Faceless guys I kind of keep in touch with.
I never met them. BT Bam toured with our band before I was in, so I never really met most of those guys. We knew Darkest Hour. You know them?
Nope.
Trying to think.
Do you
Memory
know
shot.
Cam McLaughlin from Protest the Hero? He and I did a pop tour together, and that was really fun.
No, but I know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like their bass player and producer. He doesn't always tour with them, but he's like their OG bass player, and he's also a front of house engineer.
Nice.
And so yeah, he works with Daniel Caesar, and we did a tour with JP Sachs together. And then recently, like some of my other like pop homies have all started working with Animals as Leaders, so that's pretty funny. But like yeah, like the front of house for Mayor Hawthorne was teching with Animals as Leaders. Like what? Like that's great, but
Yeah, their guitar players are just on another level. Tobin and I forget the other guy's name.
yeah, Javi, yeah,
Javi.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like this is just another like universe for me. I'm like I'll just like playing my chords. And I'm not a shredder. I've never been into it. Yeah,
never been into shredding.
No, I mean like we have our parts here and there. We do, but I've always been like my favorite band is like Deftones. Like I love just like vibes and but with fast drums and melodies, and that's always been the basis of our band. Like kind of, but we all have our little parts and little scales and things, but. I just like, I don't know. I just like jamming. Let me feel something.
I feel that. Deftones is like also one of my favorite bands. I just went and saw them last week.
Nice. It looks like they're killing it on this tour.
Dude, it was crazy. I didn't realize like, I mean, I guess I can do math, but like they said they sold out 2 nights at the Forum, which is like massive arena in LA.
Yeah.
And they said they'd played there one time in 1995, opening for Korn.
Wow.
And I guess they blew up on TikTok recently. I guess that's
Deftones. Okay.
So,
I was wondering because like they've never really like kind of fallen off, but there's like this new like level of excitement it seems online for them.
Yeah.
I guess the young kids found them. Yeah.
There were so many lifted trucks at this Deftones show. I was like very confused. It was like the most LA shit I've ever seen in my life, honestly. It was like when you think of like big rock show in LA, it was like that. And I was like, where did all these people come from? Like I'm so happy for them. They sold out 2 nights at the Forum, but I'm genuinely confused.
Yeah. And then they played Coachella last year too.
Yeah, totally. And they played the Greek a few nights last year.
Yeah, I mean their music is timeless. It's just such a vibe. No one's ever been able to pull off ripping them off completely. Like they're just them.
Totally. Yeah, it was so good. The set was crazy. Like it was awesome.
Yeah, and like Chino's like 50 something up there jumping around like he was 20 still, just killing it. Like I cannot wait for their new stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been waiting for a long time for this record.
For sure. Yeah. It's going to be sick, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I didn't like the last one as much as the others, but I still get excited like Christmas for when because they drop one like every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I'm still a Saturday Night Risk girl, but
that one's underappreciated.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Everybody's on the white pony train.
Yeah, that came out when I was a senior in high school, I think. I remember driving around. Yeah. Driving around to that. Like, it hit me at that very impressionable period, but Around the Fur is always my favorite.
Classic. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah, you gotta go with the first one.
what's that? What comes after Saturday Night Wrist? Was it Diamond Eyes or I think it was Diamond Eyes.
I think it was White Pony, wasn't it?
White Pony's before Saturday Night Wrist.
Oh, really? Are we?
Yeah.
Well, we could just ask our friend the internet here.
True. Yeah. I also have Chat GPT here.
Yeah, we could just ask Chat GPT.
I should know. I say they're my favorite band, and I'm like, what order?
You don't have to know their discography in chronological order for them to be your favorite band.
I outed myself as a poser on my own podcast.
Not even.
Okay, yeah. So White Pony, then the self-titled, then Saturday Night Wrist, then Diamond Eyes. Okay. I always get confused somewhere in that middle area. Self-titled was really good too.
I remember my sister's boyfriend, like she was in high school, and it was like sometime around when White Pony came out, he like called that record like radio rock. And it just like forever has stuck with me. It's like, that's what it is, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because it's definitely less heavy than the previous record, but sure. It's still a masterpiece to me. I don't know what you call it.
It's so good. It's so good. It's very like of that, like, you know, Y2K turn of the century vibe. It just I immediately think of The Matrix every time I hear it, you know. Just like...
And like they were always stuffed in with all the new metal bands, but they didn't have like the cornball factor, which I grew up in that era. So like I will admit I still love all of it. I love Limp Bizkit and Korn and all that shit. It's so fun. But like they are not that. They are not that. Yeah. And Limp Bizkit has had a resurgence with young people too. Like they're blowing the fuck up again. Yeah.
Good for them.
Never saw that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. What I'm kind of living for it though. I got some Spitfire jeans recently and I'm just like, yes.
There you go. We bring back the Jinkos and UFOs.
Yeah. Well, I might be a little bit younger than you, maybe. But like my sister's dressed like that. And I was too young. My parents would not let me. So I kind of feel like this is like I'm vindicated. I get a chance to do the thing I wanted to when I was like 8.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It was a weird time and like a short time in history. I feel like it was like a blip and then it disappeared. But like give anything long enough, 10, 15 years, it always comes back around. It seems everything works in cycles. Music, like any type of music, really.
For sure, yeah. The whole thing is back. I saw some crazy like do you remember like the acid wash jeans, but that like instead of the whole jean being acid washed, it was like just sections.
I think so, yeah.
Like there were like lines in them, like horizontal lines.
Oh, you know? I don't really remember that, no.
Or like the built-in belts. Like I just saw. I was like, oh my god, no.
The built-in belts. I had a couple studded belts. I remember that. That was like my post-nu metal days. We thought it was hardcore to like dress like greasers, but it was like with studded belts and like I don't even know what the hell we were doing or where we got that idea from. I'm not
gonna lie, I definitely just bought one of those again. I really did.
Yeah, they're probably cool again now.
I think you can pull it out. I think you can wear it. It's okay. I think you can wear anything now. I think that's what we're learning.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like culture's become a mishmash of just everything because like we're out of new stuff to do.
Or just like, I don't know. That's dark. That's pessimistic. I was thinking because it's more fun.
Well, that too. It is fun. But I was going to say with like music to like, I felt like at least in the mainstream, like we got away from bands and people playing instruments. And now it feels like that's coming back around more so like seeing like what my reels look like on Instagram when I'm scrolling and like a lot more people playing guitar again and young people too, which is great to see rather than like the DJ era and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's always going to be like a counter culture and with how tech involved our lives are. Like, like vinyl came back and now cassettes are back and people want to
Mm.
record on tape and we've got analog and now people want to play in bands and nobody wants tracks anymore. And, it's like
Yeah.
just the ebb and flow. But I'm here for all the things. I kind of like that there's seasons to it all.
Yeah. And there's kind of like seasons within yourself too of like what you get sick of your own things. And like the last record we did before we broke up back in 2008, like it was all like so perfectly on the grid and like produced and just
Yeah.
like perfect because we thought we needed to do that to like get to the next level and make
Sure.
more
Yeah.
money and make it a career.
Yeah.
When in reality you look back, like what people appreciate the most about the 2000s were those gritty metal records. Like they all had that same sound for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not so gritty that they're a shitty demo, but they just were all imperfect. And so now we're
Yeah.
kind of like, let's do that again. Like just
Yeah.
a better modern day version of it.
It's so much more interesting to listen to things that are like human, I think.
Yeah.
Like all the, any record that came out in the 60s, like there's no tune on any vocals. People are singing crazy shit, like they're taking wild breaths and like,
Yeah. Leave that
like
shit in there.
I mean, some of it, get rid of some of it,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fix some of it. But like, I think there's a reason why everybody like, keeps going back to those records and they're so classic and like, or like, the White Album or Pet Sounds, Revolver, like they're so good and they were experimenting, but there's also lots of mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Mistakes add to things, depending on how big the mistake is. But
I mean, if it's a huge mistake, it's really going to add to
it'll add even more.
it, even more so.
Yeah, I always say that about my first band, Robinson. It was a grindcore band, and I was just coming from like learning corn riffs and like simple stuff like that. And then now we're trying to play this super fast stuff to a drummer doing blast beats, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing, so like I was just playing Deftones chords under the blast beat, strumming really fast, and we created like a unique sound doing that.
Yeah.
But like because we sucked and we were rushed in the studio, we did have like couple little like scaly parts and things like that, but we messed up a lot. And I was like, those little nuances make that sound. And when people are always like, we can't even
Absolutely.
tell what you're doing, and it's because like we didn't know either. I
Yeah.
have no idea what that riff was. I probably played it different every time.
Totally. And then like somebody got to edit that and like put it all together and it's like, it's become part of you, which I think that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it now. But yeah, you like I went through a period of like, that record sounds like shit to, oh no, that now I love the way it sounds. And now we're trying
Yeah.
to find a happy medium.
Yeah, it's interesting to like reflect on things you've worked on in time like that. Like I've definitely listened to like old like voice memos or whatever. Just like wanted to just bash my head in on the wall. And then other times I'm like, oh, that was a good idea. Like maybe I should revisit that. Or like, wow, that record doesn't suck, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. I know my phone is full of voice memos back to like 2017 or whenever I started using them. And it's just me sitting on the floor with my guitar and like, God knows what the fuck is in there.
For sure.
Maybe I'm sure there's some good stuff I forgot about, but like a lot of it you just go, ooh, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of that. Definitely a lot of that for me too.
Yeah. One thing I wanted, so you guys played the Elton John AIDS Foundation event recently.
Mhm. Yeah.
What was that like?
Crazy. It's crazy to
I mean,
go
that's
down
mind
that path.
blowing.
Yeah. Come on. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I posted this on my Instagram, but like 3 years ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I was playing Glastonbury with Wise Blood, and it was Elton John's last show,
Oh
the same
wow.
day. And I was on mushrooms, like anybody who should be after they play Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And I sprinted to go watch Elton John. His set was at sunset, which is like 10:30 p.m.
Mm.
in North England. So got there, like I was like a mile away from the stage and just like watching his last show ever. And I have a friend that's in his band, that's been in his band for a long time. And I had never seen him play, but it was just like, it was a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Just like sitting up on this hill at Glastonbury. And like, I don't know if you had this experience, but like European festivals are so much more diverse than American festivals. Like there's all different ages of people and, you know, people from all over the world, like, cause
It's a much bigger deal over there. Yeah.
yeah. And so I was just like sitting on this hill that you had to like hike up in the mud to with people that were like, you know, older than my parents that also hiked up this hill. And we were all singing your song on the top of this hill. And then I walked down at the end of his set and I went and watched Queens of the Stone Age. And it was like, it was a great day. I had a great day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was definitely like that moment, like, was one of my first like, oh, okay, I think I might be okay. Like, I think I might be like pretty good at what I do. Like, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll be able to buy a house. Like,
yeah.
That kind of vibe.
No, I love those moments. That's like a life-changing, you never forget that moment type.
Yeah. And I definitely, like, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would have played with Elton John 2 years later, like that blew my mind. Yeah.
No, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I don't really have words for it. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you say? You played with Elton John. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that says it all. It's like, there's no, I don't know. I'm speechless too. I don't even know what the hell to say about it.
Yeah. He came to one of our shows, Chappell shows in the UK over the summer, and he sat side stage, but then he made a post about it, like to his grid, which is adorable. And a bunch of my friends in the UK like saw it before I did, but he was sitting like, you know, like side stage, but on my side of the stage. And so I was just like, you know, talk about like the most nervous I've ever been in my life, like having Elton John just watching me from like 5 feet away. It was
Were you like front and center in his posts?
No. We like took a picture together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he, I think he's been a big fan of Chappell for a while, but it's all really crazy. Honestly, it's very humbling.
Yeah. Cause like you've been putting in this work your whole life. You go to school for bass, and then like you're working. It's like you don't see like, because everything moves in such increments of like you're getting better, you're doing the next big thing, but then all of a sudden something like that happens and slaps you in the face, and you're like, hey, things are going pretty well.
Yeah, you're like, I still work, 70, 80-hour weeks like all the time, and I'm still definitely grinding, and I don't really pay attention to and then that happened. You're just like, what just happened? That's crazy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's such a great story on mushrooms too, over there.
Always.
that'll make things spiritual.
Well, I had to. It was Glastonbury and like Queens of the Stone Age. Come on.
Oh yeah, I would too. I don't know if I could do it around like that many people. I've never done that, but
I mean, we're talking a very chill dose of mushrooms.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
My last time I did it was not chill.
That can happen. Yeah.
I the first time I understood why they called it a trip for real.
Right.
Like, okay, I was not in this dimension for a while.
I've never actually done that. I always just do the chill vibe.
Yeah. I don't recommend it unless you're probably in the right setting with just like a couple people. Like everyone says, like be around a campfire with like your 3 best friends, is chill, and then you can do that kind of thing. But I didn't mean to. I just ate a little too much.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens, right?
Yep. I guess.
Yeah. The mushroom chocolates got you?
No chocolates, just raw.
Okay. Oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah. My friend was like, I have this bag. So it never fails. Every single time you like eat a bunch and you wait and nothing happens, and then you're like, I'm need to have a few more because I'm not feeling anything. Every single time, it's the same thing, and you never learn.
This time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all have that friend that like ate the whole bar of like gummies or whatever. Like,
yep.
The person that's just eaten way too much drugs.
Yeah. The one that you had to make sure didn't die or ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, it's always annoying.
But they were
being
fine the
like,
whole time, just
oh,
freaking out.
come on.
Yep.
Yep. So come to us for all of your LSD advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Please don't.
Any hallucinogens we'd love to talk about.
That's actually the only one I've ever done. I've been too afraid of like acid and other
Oh yeah,
things.
no, I'm way too afraid of that.
Yeah. Too
Yeah.
many stories. I believe the stories from Dare when I was a kid about people jumping out windows and things. They thought
For
they could
sure.
fly.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely believe that. I also believe that.
Yeah, I still believe it. I'm like, I don't want to not know where I'm at or think I can do something I can't and then yeah, jump out a window. But at least I live on a
Yeah.
single story now.
My fear is that like I'll discover something about myself that I wasn't ready to process.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna wait on that.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's even scarier than like seeing something.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Yep. I already see my sleep paralysis demon. I talked about that on another episode, so I'm good on that.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. No fun if you've ever had that happen.
What's his name or her name or
No name, it's just the black figure in the room. I can't move. I wake up, I'm like definitely awake, and then I feel it behind me and it like comes up in my ear and like seethes, like static hissing, and I can feel it like penetrating like my entire body with just pure fear. It's the worst. Happens like twice a year.
whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was just on my friend Shane's podcast. He has a paranormal podcast. He's like, "Do you want to come on as a guest and talk about that?" I was like, "Sure," because I did one episode of this podcast by myself talking about it because my friend had kind of connected it to like people with creative minds and like artists are maybe more susceptible to that kind of stuff and like
Uh-huh.
depression and anxiety and other things. So that's was like I can kind of connect it to that, but yeah, I don't know. It's not fun. It
Yeah.
feels very real no matter how they describe, you're half asleep, whatever. It doesn't feel like that.
Huh. That's crazy. I've had serial nightmares like my whole life. Which sounds related to a sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah.
Uh, where like it's a series and when I was a kid it was like, every night like a new episode kind of vibe.
Okay. So it
And
continue to like the story or whatever.
yeah, and I'll still have segments of it occasionally, but not that this will work for you, but I started taking magnesium for sleep
Yeah.
and I like never have nightmares anymore. I mean, also
That's
like
it.
went to therapy for a long time, but
Okay. That should
but
probably maybe what I should be doing. But it doesn't only happen once or twice a year. So it's not that it's pretty rare.
do you have like regular dreams ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I
Depending,
never
like,
had regular dreams. Like I only had nightmares my whole life until like this last year.
oh, really?
Yeah, I
You
started like
smoke a lot of
having
weed?
no,
Oh,
no,
weird.
not at all.
I know that suppresses dreams.
No, I just occasionally do like very light doses of mushrooms. I don't even really drink. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like just I think the stress and anxiety like is definitely a big one.
Yeah. I have dreams pretty fairly often. I used to when I was in college. My English professor, he didn't even teach us any, like, it was all about dreams, and he had us do a dream journal. And
Wow.
if you wake up in the middle of the night, if you can remember anything, you write it down, and then when you do that, for some reason, you start to have lucid dreams where you can control them, and it
Yeah.
worked. And I did it all the time. It was crazy. Uh,
Whoa.
I don't know why. Just as soon as you wake up, if you can remember anything, you just write it in a notebook you keep by your bed. It was really cool.
My partner does the lucid dreaming thing, and it's like it can be so annoying because he'll go on these like insane adventures every night,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm like, well, my whole family was murdered. That's what happened to me last night.
Yeah,
Like,
I've never been able to like keep it going that long, but I could like realize I'm dreaming and then like, jump through a wall or, fly
yeah,
around for a second, and then it's like, "Oh, I wake up." But yeah,
that's
it does
awesome.
work. Yeah.
That's so cool. I had a dream last night, and the way that I woke up was like I was going down a slide, and I got to like the very bottom of the slide, and it was like hanging out over a cliff. and like a giant hand just like came down the bottom of the slide and just like boop pushed me off the slide. And like I felt like I was like falling, and like when I woke up I was like, oh.
Yeah. Dreams are weird as fuck. I don't understand what
So
they
weird.
are.
So weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess we could almost wrap it up there. What do you have future plans for All Made Up? What's happening?
I'm just finishing this album cycle right now. I've got a couple more things, and then I'm gonna probably take a small little break from writing and releasing, and until the next one emerges in my brain.
Yeah. Are you doing shows?
I just did one last week. Yeah, I just did like a weird art show with one of my friends. It was like more like an event. We rented out an opera room and built out an attic. The theme was attic, and made a bunch of like art installations for the show. And then we did a joint performance. So it was like an hour long, and we composed like transitions between our music. I had like a
that's cool.
band. It was really fun. Yeah, it went really well. It was very well received. But I like doing like more like try to make it like really special when I do one of my own shows. Because they're like it's a lot of work putting on a show like that in LA. Like any show is hard and very cost prohibitive, just the nature of doing it.
Of course,
so try to like make it worthwhile for everybody involved.
Right.
So yeah, that was just last week. And then I was thinking about doing a skate park show, but it seems that From a Second Story Window already did that 15 years ago. So.
Yeah, never. No one else can do that again. I figured that would be a thing in like California, though. There should be like.
That's what I was saying. Like, I was thinking about how like the Beastie Boys in the 80s, like just like Reagan era LA, like everybody's so pissed off, and like there were skate parks everywhere and punk shows, and I kind of feel like we're living that again in some ways. And the Beastie Boys studio just got like renovated, and there's a skate park in it. Like there's a half pipe in it, which is so sick. But
figure out how to do that then.
I know. I know. I want to, but I think outside would be way more fun.
Yeah, that's true. This one was indoor.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. Outside would be way cooler, but in Ohio weather, not so much.
Right. Okay, so it's an indoor skate, like a full-on skate park.
Yeah, it's like giant, like metal, like dome kind of thing.
I feel like the only like skate park we have like that is like the Van skate park here.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was a weird thing to have in like small town like Ohio, but it was cool. Then we always had we just played on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna have to happen. I feel like maybe the Atwater Village. I don't know if you know that skate park, but it's like right on the LA River.
Yeah, make that happen. That would be sick.
Yeah, that's my goal. We're gonna see how that goes.
I'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah. So you released this record last year. You say you're working on anything else to release before you take a break? Is there anything else coming? Or
oh no, I have a few other things for this record coming out in the next few months. Couple like partnerships and stuff, and then I've just been working on records with other people the last like 6 months. So I've got 2 full-length records that I produced coming out this fall and some singles.
Nice.
And yeah, I just like for myself, like I don't want to be on a hamster wheel of like content promotion. Like I kind of really only want to do records when I feel like I have something to say.
Right. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So I'm like writing and, turning knobs and playing with pedals and synths and tape machines and doing all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be a release when there's a release.
And you're all independent, right? So you can just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah. I work with a distro label, but I can totally do whatever I want.
That's the way to do it these days.
for better or for worse. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing the same thing. We had a couple offers, but we're like, we're not touring. You guys don't want to work with us anyway. And like, you can release everything yourself easily these days. So
Totally.
I don't see what much help a label can be aside from like money that you owe them.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. I think like just, I haven't found people that I really want to work with yet. And if there were people that I wanted to work with, it was mutually beneficial, I would, but I haven't like found that situation yet.
Yeah. Got to make sense.
Yeah. Got to make sense for everybody. Otherwise, yeah, I'd rather just keep making indie records in my indie studio.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. I know you have a lot going on.
You're good, dude. So nice being here and chatting with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Everybody who's listening, check out her record. Tell me what it's like up there, out on all streaming services. I'll link your Instagram and everything in the show notes. And everybody, leave a rating, like the show, share it with a friend. And thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Talk to you soon, Paul.
Talk to you soon.